Nyoka had lived her entire life in the small village of Igyava, a place where laughter, dance, and storytelling made the people feel alive. But the joy that once pulsed through the community vanished the night the moon took back its light, plunging the village into a silence so unnatural it sent chills through Nyoka's skin. The drums that used to call the villagers together at dusk were now silent. Even her mother's voice, warm and soothing like the evening breeze, was gone. No one could speak, everyone's words seemed to dissolve in their throats, trapped like prisoners. It was said that the moon, in its fury, had cursed the village and taken their voices. The moon had warned them before, do not betray the old ways. Speak with truth, dance with honesty, and honor the bond with the forest. Yet someone had broken this sacred pact. Desperation gnawed at Nyoka. If words were gone forever, how would they tell stories? How would they sing to the spirits that protected them? Her mother's touch on her arm that night, gentle yet filled with sadness, felt like a plea. You are the only one left with a voice, her mother had whispered days before the curse took her words too. When the time comes, do not be afraid. Now, standing under the pale light of the moon, Nyoka felt the weight of that responsibility. She knew what she had to do. She had to seek out Mama Sewa, the old healer who lived on the edge of the forest, far from the village. It was said that Mama Sewa knew the secrets of the moon and the spirits beyond. Nyoka's father used to warn her, never wander into the forest alone. There are spirits that hide in the shadows, waiting for curious souls. But there was no other choice. If she didn't act, the curse would swallow them all. With a small satchel slung over her shoulder, Nyoka stepped quietly through the village, her heart pounding like the drums that no longer played. Every hut she passed was filled with silent people, their lips moving with unspoken words, eyes glazed with helplessness. She paused at the door of her own hut one last time, looking back at her mother lying on a mat. Her mother gave her a silent nod, tears brimming in her eyes. Nyoka swallowed the lump in her throat, tightened her grip on her satchel, and disappeared into the forest. The path to Mama Sewa's hut was long and dangerous, winding through thorny bushes, ancient trees, and rocky terrain. Nyoka kept her eyes sharp and her footsteps light, but the forest had its own rules. The trees seemed to shift and whisper as she passed, and the night air grew colder with every step. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, and strange animal cries echoed in the distance, making the hairs on her neck stand on end. But something kept her going, a strange pull in her chest, as if the forest itself was urging her forward. After what felt like hours, she finally reached a clearing where a small hut stood, surrounded by herbs and bones tied to tree branches. The air smelled of earth and smoke. Taking a deep breath, Nyoka stepped closer. As she raised her hand to knock on the crooked wooden door, it creaked open on its own. Inside, seated by a fire, was Mama Sewa, her dark, wrinkled face illuminated by the flickering flames. Her eyes, though clouded with age, gleamed with something powerful. "So the moon's anger has reached you too," Mama Sewa said without looking up. "I knew this day would come." Nyoka hesitated. "You knew," she whispered. Mama Sewa's laugh was dry, like leaves crackling underfoot. "Of course. The moon is a jealous spirit, child. It gives light but demands respect. Someone in your village betrayed the old ways, and now you all pay the price." Nyoka sat down by the fire, her heart heavy. "How do I make it right? The moon has taken your people's voices to remind them of the promises they broke. If you wish to undo the curse, you must journey to the heart of the forest, to the moon's shrine," Mama Sewa explained. "There you must offer something precious, something the moon cannot resist. But be warned, child, spirits guard the way, and they will test your courage, your heart, and your voice." Nyoka's hands trembled in her lap. "What do I offer?" Mama Sewa gave her a knowing look. Only you can answer that, child. The moon desires what is most precious to each soul. The old healer reached into a pouch and pulled out a small charm made of twisted roots. Take this. It will protect you, for a time. But the forest will know your intentions soon enough. Nyoka thanked her and left the hut, her heart thudding with fear and determination. As she ventured deeper into the forest, the path grew darker and stranger. Vines slithered like snakes, and the ground seemed to shift beneath her feet. The deeper she went, the harder it became to breathe, as if the forest itself was testing her resolve. She stumbled upon a river that glimmered under the moonlight, but it wasn't water, it was liquid silver. As she stared into it, a voice called from its depths. "Why do you seek the moon's mercy, little one?" the river asked. "You could turn back now, live in silence like the rest." Nyoka clenched her fists. "I will not abandon my people." The river swirled, testing her resolve, but Nyoka stood firm. Eventually, the waters stilled, and a path across the river revealed itself. She crossed, her heart thudding in her chest. Further along, she met a strange figure sitting beneath a tree. It was a spirit, half human and half bird, with feathers as black as night and eyes like glowing embers. "What will you offer the moon, child?" it asked, tilting its head curiously. Nyoka bit her lip. "I don't know yet." The spirit chuckled. "You must figure it out before you reach the shrine. The moon will not wait for uncertainty." Nyoka continued on, doubt creeping into her mind. What if she couldn't figure out what to offer? What if the moon rejected her plea? But as she pressed on, she remembered the look in her mother's eyes. The silent plea, the tears, the love that could not be spoken but was deeply felt. Finally, she reached the moon's shrine, a circle of ancient stones bathed in silvery light. The moon itself hung low in the sky, close enough to touch. Nyoka knelt before the shrine, her heart pounding. She closed her eyes, thinking of her family, her village, and all the stories they would never tell if the curse wasn't lifted. And then she knew. She stood, her voice trembling but steady. "I offer you my voice." The moon's light flickered, as if surprised. "I offer you the most precious thing I have. My stories, my songs, my words," Nyoka continued. "If it means my people can speak again, I will live in silence." For a moment, the forest held its breath. Then the moon shone brighter, enveloping Nyoka in its light. The silence around her shattered like glass, and a voice, not her own, spoke. "Your sacrifice is accepted." When the light faded, Nyoka stood alone in the shrine. She tried to speak, but no sound came. Her voice was gone, just as she had promised. But as she made her way back to the village, something incredible happened. She could hear the voices of her people. Laughter, songs, and stories carried on the wind. The curse was broken. Nyoka returned home, greeted by joyful cries and tearful embraces. Her mother held her close, her voice trembling with gratitude. Though Nyoka could no longer speak, her actions had told a story far greater than words ever could. And from that day forward, the villagers honored her sacrifice, telling her story beneath the moonlight, ensuring it was never forgotten. The moon lit up the night, watching everything from the sky. Everyone felt at peace, knowing her spirit was with them, and the land was safe once more.